Hello, thank you for joining this course where we're studying what are sometimes called the general epistles and also the book of Revelation, which will be an interesting and helpful process, I think. Now, before you watch today's lecture, you should have already looked at your course materials and gotten an overview of the course and everything that you need to do week by week. And also, before you start this lecture, you should have begun to read through these epistles in the order in which we will talk about them, starting with James and 1 Peter, Hebrews, then we'll do 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Jude, and 2nd Peter, and then Revelation. So you should be reading through those books already, and I imagine by now you should have at least finished James and 1 Peter, which will be the topic of our first couple lectures. Now, while you are watching these lectures, remember to have a Bible with you, and at any time feel free to stop, pause your video, read through the passage if necessary. In a few cases, I might read the text myself before commenting on it, but even if I don't do that, if you want to refresh your memory about the particular passage I'm talking about, just stop and take a break and read through that passage. Normally, in our classrooms here at the Latvian Biblical Centre, we begin with prayer before we start the class. And so I suggest that you do that yourself right now or before we start the lectures on the book of James. Just stop, pause your video, and take a moment to pray. Ask God to make you alert, but not just alert mentally, but willing to receive from Him whatever it is that He wants to give you. Certainly, I hope that you will gain a lot of information from this course, but even more, we hope that your life, your relationship with Jesus Christ will be transformed. But for that to happen, I can't do that just through giving a lecture. That has to be God's work. And so it'd be good for you to take a moment just to pray and ask God to help you through this process. Also, it's good to ask God that you would enjoy this process. We hope it will be a learning experience, but we hope it might be an enjoyable experience, more enjoyable than you think it might be going to school. School can be fun and interesting, and we hope that will be the case for you. But then beyond that, while I hope you will keep focused as you listen to these lectures, I hope you will relax. Probably no one is watching you as you're listening to this at home, so you can sit back, get some coffee or tea if you would like, and let's get started. Now, before we begin looking at James, I want to make a few comments about the different books that we're going to be looking at in this course. Sometimes some of these letters are called the general epistles, and the idea is perhaps that they were written for a general, a wide audience. Whereas Paul's letters were almost always written to a specific church or a specific group of churches. You might read these epistles and think, well, these are just general writings to any church or any Christian anywhere. But in most of the cases, that is not the reality for the books that we will be looking at. 1 Peter, for instance, was written to a number of churches in a very specific region of the Roman Empire. Hebrews was written to a particular church, probably a small house church, which was having their own particular issues. So most of the letters that we're going to be looking at are written to specific people, real people, people who really walked on this earth, people who, even though their culture might have been very different than ours, in other ways very similar to ours, had similar desires, similar needs. They had to get up in the morning. They had to eat. Many of them had a family. They had to work. They had neighbors. They had friends. They had people they didn't get along with very well. They had the government around them and society around them that they had to deal with. They had a particular church they were a part of with particular people and problems and issues. They were real people with real questions and real problems. And when these letters were written, they were written to address those very real, specific problems. And so as we read these letters, we need to keep that in mind. They were written for a particular reason.